Jesus does not equal Christ. Before we get into it, I'm Timothy the Tiger. I'm an evangelist, which means a messenger of the great news. King Jesus Christ has personally helped me heal physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And now it is part of my dharma, part of my purpose to make these YouTube videos to hopefully inspire y'all to enter into a relationship with King Jesus Christ. So let's get into this video. Jesus is not the same thing as Christ. They are two totally different things. Now, if you talk to your average Christian, they're just going to assume that Christ is his last name, just like how you and I have a last name. No, that's not how it is. Christ is a title. So let's break it down. Over here in the red, we have body. That's what Jesus is. Jesus is the body and also known as the Son of Man. Christ is the soul / the consciousness. You may have heard of Christ consciousness. This is the Son of God. These are two different things, and let us better explain it. So, you are not the body. The body is a temporary vehicle. It is a vessel for your soul so that you can experience this 3D dimension of space and time. Eventually, this temporary body will permanently go into the ground, but your permanent soul will live on, will move on. This gets into reincarnation, but that's not really the point of today's video. I could do that another time. We could do a little exercise to better explain this. Before we get into that, let's just acknowledge dreaming. When you dream, what eyes are you seeing with in your dream? What ears are you hearing with? What mouth are you speaking with? Sometimes you can even smell and taste in your dream. I just tasted in my dream last night. I woke up and I was like, that was very distinct taste. So you can use your senses in the dream realm, but your body's in your bed. It is your soul, your consciousness that's in the dream realm experiencing those things. But let's do a little exercise. So I want you to imagine you're at a beach in Hawaii, and you got the golden sand, you got the blue waves. Just envision this. You can close your eyes if you need to, and in the clouds you see the word aloha, and you can see there's whales jumping out of the water, there's dolphins jumping out of the water, there's starfish, just all this beautiful stuff. Now, on the count of three, we're going to say the word aloha together, but we're not going to say it out loud. We're going to say it silently in our mind, okay? So envision that whole beach scene in Hawaii, okay? 1, 2, 3. So hopefully you followed along and you're playing with me and you said the word aloha. Now, the question is, what voice is that? What voice just said aloha? Because if you're like me, I just said aloha in my mind, but I did not use my mouth to speak. And not only that, could you hear it? I can hear myself say aloha when I say it in my mind, but I'm not hearing with these two ears. What ear is hearing myself repeat aloha in my mind? And that picture of the beach, the golden sand, the blue water, the dolphins, how can you envision that without using these two eyes? So you just saw without seeing with these two eyes, you just heard without hearing with these two ears, and you just spoke without using your mouth. How is that possible? It's possible because that's the real you. That's the you when you're dreaming. That's the you when your body dies. When your body dies and goes permanently into the ground, you're not going to use these eyes, these ears, this mouth. You're going to use your internal vision, your internal eyes, your internal vision, your internal hearing, your internal speaking. This is getting into what I'm talking about here. Jesus is the body. Now, Jesus is extra special. He's immortal. He resurrected his body from death. He brought life back to his dead body. But the real Jesus is so much more than a body. Jesus is the Christ. It means the anointed one. In Greek, it's Christos. Now, in this video, we're going to get into some of the teachings of my teacher, Paramahansa Yogananda. And he explains etymologically that the word Christ in Greek is Christos, but originally Christos comes from the Sanskrit Krishna. So what we're talking about in this video is we're talking about Christ consciousness or Krishna consciousness. It's the same thing. And I believe that it's related to crystals as well. Crystal consciousness, the crystallization. Now, there's a whole thing called crystal skulls. That's another rabbit hole. But let's get into this. I got two verses here. We got John 14:6, and it says, I am the way, the life, the truth. None get to the Father but by through me. So a lot of Christians like to use this and dismiss all other religions. They'll dismiss Buddha and the teachings of Buddha. They'll dismiss Krishna and the teachings of Krishna by just using this one verse, John 14:6. And where they're like, it clearly says Jesus is the way, the life, the truth. None get to the Father but by through Jesus. And they will just, naively ignore all other cultures, all other religions, all other scriptures, and they'll just be like, nope, those are all wrong. John 14:6, everything else is wrong. The only way to God is through Jesus. Everything else is wrong and demonic and evil and satanic. It may sound like I'm being ridiculous, but I mean, that's kind of been my experience. They will ignorantly ignore everything. They'll say everything's wrong, but you ask them like, have you read the Bhagavad Gita? Have you read the teachings of Krishna to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kuru, etc.? No, of course not. They've never read it. And it's their loss. Because the truth that Krishna gave Arjuna is identical to the truth that Jesus Christ gives us in the New Testament. So what is it then? It's Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness or Krishna consciousness is the way, the life, the truth. None get to the Father but by through Krishna, Christ consciousness. Well, what's the Father? The Father is cosmic consciousness. The cosmic consciousness of omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. God is all-knowing. God is all-powerful. God is everywhere. That is the cosmic consciousness of God. But the only way to make contact with the Father, the cosmic consciousness of the Father, is to first become Christ Krishna conscious, to know the Son. And then once we know the Son, we can know the Father. This is backed up when Jesus says, the works that I do, you'll be able to do the same works and more because I go to the Father. When Jesus is doing miracles, it's the Christ consciousness in him that is giving him the power to do these miracles. So we got to realize Jesus and Christ are two different things. Christ is the real power. That's the real power. And it's in you and it's in me. And that is why Jesus came here. Jesus came here to show us the way. To show us the way to Christ consciousness. But a lot of Christians don't like to hear this because this requires works to become Christ consciousness. It doesn't just happen. It's something that we have to do in this life. It's something we have to awaken. We have the seed. We all have the dormant seed lying within us of this Christ Krishna consciousness. But we have to do the inner work to awaken that seed so that it can germinate and grow within us, and so that we can know the Son of God, that we can know the Christ that was within Jesus. This is what he wants for us. And so when he says, the works that I do, you'll be able to do the same works and more because I go to the Father. When he says he goes to the Father, he's gone to the cosmic consciousness. The miracles were done through Christ consciousness. And he is saying, you and I can become Christ conscious and do the same works as him. We can do the same miracles as Jesus if we follow in his footsteps and follow his teachings and awaken this Christ consciousness within us. This is backed up again when he says, is it not written in your law, ye are gods? And he was referring to the book of Psalms, chapter 82, verse 6, where it says, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. Why would Jesus say that? And it's gods with a little g. I made a video about this recently. I'm not talking about God with a big G. I'm talking about gods with a little g, because we're the children of God. We're like little princes and princesses. We're royalty from the kingdom of heaven. But we're in this this illusion, this delusion that we're not, that we're less than royalty, that we're less than gods and goddesses. Like, that's like blasphemy to people. Like, what? You're a god? Like, well, yeah. I'm a child of God. And have I come to that self-realization, that awakening? No, I still think I'm a man. But by studying these teachings of Jesus Christ, it seems pretty clear to me that the straight and narrow way, the way, is to come to this realization that I am more than just a man, that more than just a son of man, that I am a son of God. And a lot of people would say, like, this is blasphemy and all this. Who cares? So people are so wrong about so many things in this world. Like, we're living in Kali Yuga. We're living in the age of darkness. We're living in the age of ignorance. And most Christians think all you need to do is just go to 1 hour sermon on Sunday, and like, that's it. Like, that is not. It is a daily thing. It is pick up your cross daily, follow Jesus Christ, and endure unto the end. The Apostle James, he said, faith without works is dead. And a lot of Christians have bought into this false satanic teaching that they think that by the grace of God, they're saved by faith alone, not by works. And they've been deceived by the false apostle Paul. So let's get into John 3:16. So what is it? It's for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but shall have everlasting life. And then John 3:17. Please forgive me if I get this wrong. It's because God did not come to this world to condemn it, but essentially to save it. That if you believe in him, something like that. That's what John 3:17 is. Is that, like, God didn't come here to condemn the world. God came here to save it. And but essentially, John 3:16, it's about the Christ consciousness. It's not about Jesus. For God so loved the world that he brought the Christ consciousness into it, that whosoever believeth in the Christ consciousness shall not perish, but shall have everlasting life. That is the eternal, immortal life, is through the Christ consciousness. I know a lot of people are going to think this is blasphemy and everything, but I'm just saying, God is consciousness. God is more than just a material body. God is more than just a physical body. Jesus is metaphysical. Jesus is the Christ. Jesus is the immaterial Christ. See, that's the thing. Jesus is material. Jesus is physical. Christ is immaterial. Christ is metaphysical. This is the physical. This is the spiritual. This is the real Jesus right here. This is what gave Jesus all the power to do what he did on this earth, to do all his miracles, to resurrect the dead, to heal the blind, to manifest the food, to multiply the food, to resurrect himself from the dead. It is the Christ Krishna consciousness that is living within the Jesus. That is the real power. And this real power is within you and me. But certain powers and forces in this world and organizations don't want you to know this information, because it's a lot easier to take over the world and have a new world order agenda and all that if everyone thinks like, oh, just go to church 1 hour on Sunday and ignore everything Timothy the Tiger is saying. Ignore all this. Don't awaken to the Christ consciousness within you. Can you imagine if all of us awaken to the Christ Krishna consciousness within us? I know this might sound like blasphemy, but we'd all be like Jesus. But that's what he wants. That's why he came here. He came here on earth to get us to all snap out of it and be like, you're not men and women. You are supermen. You are super women. You are gods and goddesses. You are children of God. Follow my teachings. 99% of Christians do not, 99.9% of Christians do not follow the true teachings of Jesus Christ. They are not trying to cultivate the Christ Krishna consciousness within them. And that takes daily meditation, which no Christians are doing. Christians don't meditate. Buddhists meditate because Buddha taught Christ Krishna consciousness. Hindus meditate because Krishna taught Christ Krishna consciousness. Jesus, he taught Christ Krishna consciousness, but do Christians meditate? No, they don't. The Buddhists and the Hindus, they're attempting to cultivate the Christ Krishna consciousness. Do the Christians do it? No, absolutely not. And so that's why I make these videos. I know it may sound like a little extreme, a little intense, but I'm just, sometimes you got to call a spade a spade. And it's why the church is so dead. It's why there's so much division in the churches. It's because they are not following the true teachings of Jesus Christ, of what he really meant, of how to connect your soul to the Father. That's what he wants for us. He wants us to connect our soul back to God. And that's what he taught us in the New Testament. And it's through yoga meditation. But sadly, your average Christian today thinks yoga meditation is some new age satanic demonic practice, and they couldn't be farther from the truth. It is the science of connecting your soul back to God. It's the most beautiful teaching there is on earth. Essentially, our life is a failure unless we connect our soul back to God. That is Jesus' whole mission for us. And that is my goal in this life. My goal is to connect my soul back to God before my body dies. You know, like kind of like the hourglass, the sand, like the time's ticking. Like God has given me this beautiful human bodily temple, but I need to utilize it. I need to use it for meditation and to connect my soul back to God. And sadly, a lot of people are ignorant of these teachings, and they never meditate ever. They never even attempt. They never even try to connect to God. And this gets into the 144,000. I've made videos about the 144,000 in the past, and I would say they are what's called the first fruits. Possibly even the remnant in these last days and these end times. And as far as I know, they will have powers similar to Jesus to save this earth, to bring a new heaven, a new earth. And that power within them will be the Christ. It will be the Christ consciousness within the 144,000 that will allow them to do what they do. I know this video is a little intense. I'm doing my best to share what I learned from my teacher, Paramahansa Yogananda, because this is how he explains it. And when I read it, I'm like, dude, that makes sense. Like, that makes sense. Like, it makes way more sense than what I learned at Catholic school or what I learned, like, if I ever go to church and listen to a priest or a pastor. Like, it just makes so much more sense. To me, it seems like Paramahansa Yogananda really knows Jesus Christ. I mean, he claims that Jesus has come to him multiple times during his meditations and broke down these parables for him. He was like, yo, Yogananda, my followers are getting it wrong. I mean, they mean well, but they're misguided. They are misinterpreting the true parables of what they mean. And so Yogananda claims that Jesus Christ came to him multiple times and explained to him parable by parable by parable what each one meant, including what I just told you in this video today about, I'm the way, the life, the truth. None get to the Father but by through me. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever so believeth in him shall not perish but shall have everlasting life. Both of those are about Christ consciousness. Have you ever heard that? A lot of people want to write me off and be like, oh, there's some new age heretic. Whatever. They can live in darkness. They can live in ignorance. Thank you all for listening to this video. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your comments. I've got a new website. It's called timothythetiger.com. So if you wanna contact me, you can reach me on there. And I do consultation phone calls as well. So if you feel called to do that, or you can just write me a message if you got a question. Okay. Thank you all for listening. May God bless all y'all. Namaste.